Hello, sir.
Hello, Aditya.
Sir, in our conversations, we have talked about democracy a lot. And I want to propose a hypothesis before I begin our conversation today. I believe that a democratic society is inherently a walking society because it is walking that gives you access to the spaces that you will work in, to government spaces, to spaces where you can mobilize opinion, all of these spaces. By walking, I can extend it to public transport as well. Anything that gives access to multiple spaces, sir. We'll unpack the broader question of public transport, but I first want your take on this.
I agree with you. Democracy is not merely about liberty in a traditional sense, because liberty is about you doing whatever you want without any obstruction. The state will not stop you. But the state has a lot of positive things to do to enhance your liberty, to make your liberty meaningful. If you can't walk on the roads, if the air you breathe is full of poison in the city, if you don't have access to public transport, if you can't move to another place of work, a place of residence, or a place of entertainment, or whatever, without discomfort, just because you don't have enough wealth, that's not democratic. So, a very narrow definition of democracy that government will preserve your liberty and you vote for people into office, that's not enough. That's necessary. That's not enough. Therefore, the basic amenities, access to transport systems and the quality of life, the air you breathe, all these are critical to really understand freedom. And therefore, any broad definition of freedom must include all these, including education and healthcare.
So now that we have established that how mobility is also an essential part of democracy, often ignored, now I want to bring this conversation to Hyderabad and Hyderabad's mobility in general. Congestion in Hyderabad has been rising massively, right? We have seen year by year traffic is getting worse. Before we go on to the reasons of it, do you think it is an inevitable outcome of development? Is congestion given?
Partly true, because what happens in big cities, you rise vertically because you can't create more land. You rise vertically, and there are benefits of vertical rise because in the higher concentration of population, limited geography, if you manage it well, you could actually build infrastructure and amenities much more efficiently. That's the theory. But what's happening in our country is we are both an urban sprawl, spreading widely. Our cities are very large for our overall density of population as a country. And we're also going up vertically because of the increasing constraints on urban land. Land values are going up and people are demanding and so on and so forth. But we're not building infrastructure commensurate with those needs, whether it's mobility, water supply, sewerage, stormwater drainage, or quality of air. All these things are in jeopardy. And unless we take care of them, not only is it inimical to freedom, as we discussed before, it actually undermines our economic growth prospects because quality of life is critical in order to enhance productivity, encourage investment and talent. And unless we focus on that in big cities to start with, and every city basically, our growth project itself will be hampered.
So now let's talk about specifically Hyderabad's urban mobility and how the city is shaping up. There seems to be a metro. There is a bus network as well. There is a dying MMTS as well in the city. And then there is some autos and all of those things. Despite all of this, the congestion on the roads is massive. What do you think is the central problem which is leading to Hyderabad's traffic condition?
Any city, anywhere in the world, which pushes people towards private transportation, personalized transportation, is going to be incredibly congested. That's an axiomatic thing because almost everybody goes out during the daytime for work or entertainment or personal needs or whatever. And if everybody has to use a personal vehicle, there simply is no way you can build infrastructure to meet that density. Even in New York City or Los Angeles or the world's richest cities also cannot afford it. And we're not anywhere near the richest city in the world. And two, in addition to quality public transport, you require good infrastructure, the road width, road length, free from encroachments, not bumpy, no potholes. Therefore, even speed can be maintained, and traffic regulation is effective in terms of lighting and so on and so forth. And third, you require effective and fair and predictable and transparent enforcement. Because human behavior in terms of traffic, like in many other cases in life, is shaped by the incentives that are created. If you can break the rules, like I can park my vehicle anywhere practically, I can get away with that, causing inconvenience to everybody and dislocation of traffic, then everybody will do that. It becomes a freeloader's problem. The people who follow rules, they are penalized. The people who do not follow rules, they are rewarded.
Yes.
So unless all these three things are addressed, we're going to be in jeopardy. And I think most of our cities are in trouble because of that.
So you mentioned private transport and how the city will always be unable to meet the demand of this is extending use of private transport. I want to sort of take some time and understand this private public divide, because private transport, people will aspire to buy private transport, right? That's a sign of development. That's a sign of aspiration. Can the state stop that?
You take Singapore. Nobody is preventing you from buying a private vehicle. But two things happen. Public transport is of such good quality and affordability and comfort and convenience that it doesn't make sense to have private transport. The first part is that you create the incentive, the positive incentive, the advantage, the comfort, the convenience, and so on and so forth. Once you do that, you make it harder and harder to acquire a private vehicle, not by prohibiting, but by taxation. The road taxes, etc., are so great that owning a private vehicle in Singapore is very expensive. And China is following a similar model in their cities. So China is getting prosperous, 4 or 5 times richer than India in per capita income terms. And people are buying many, many more cars in China. It's a fact. But despite that, they're making it very hard to buy private transport. But it cannot happen unless the government does its job well first. Regulation and prohibition cannot be the norm. It has to be first creating a very high quality public transport system, effective, integrated, comfortable, safe, and speedy, and predictable. And then creating an incentive structure which discourages people to needlessly buy vehicles. So even in New York City, for instance, one of the world's richest cities by any standard, very few people buy cars. It's not worthwhile. It's easier to walk or to take some other mode of public transport rather than to buy a car. Car may be there only as an ornament, and if you take the car out, A, it will take interminably long time, and B, the parking costs are so expensive, most of your earnings will go only towards parking. So there are ways of doing it. The world over, people face these problems well before us, and we have to learn lessons from them.
So we'll get on to the parking bit. But you mentioned about public transport and how that has to be really good for people to incentivize to give up their private transport, right? In private transportation, two things are very, very clear. There's a door-to-door access. You get out from your house, you start your car or your bike, and you go to the office. The last and the first, it's all sorted. Public transport is competing with this without realizing you can't just have a bus. There are other aspects to public transport. So my question basically is, how important integration is in a good public transport, sir?
It's critical. It's critical. You're absolutely right. Private transport is attractive because there are no hassles. How do I get from place A, let's say from home to the first point of public transport? From there, public transport, if it's operated well, I suppose that should be all right. From the end point, again, to my destination, how do I reach there? All these are challenges. They cracked these challenges. In all cities where transport system is maintained and quality of public transport without any traffic congestion is ensured, they ensure this kind of integration, effective integration. Without doing that in terms of infrastructure, a single authority having the single ticket so that you don't have the hassle. I don't have to worry, will I go with a bus or train or a metro or something else, it doesn't matter. I simply avail the available public transport system. They'll figure out how to share the revenues or how to manage. And they're fully integrated in terms of my convenience as well as integration of the linkage. I don't have to worry too much at all about that. And then they made sure that the parking is very effective. It can't be simply on the road. In India, everywhere in the city, you think that road is a parking place. Once you do that, private transport becomes unnecessary. Now, let us take the counterpoint. Supposing we don't do that.
Yeah.
Private transport is aspirational, as you said. We all want to buy a car. We want to show off our parents, grandparents, and friends and others that we have succeeded. And if you buy a car, I want to buy a bigger and better car, 50 lakh car, 1 crore car. No, it's human. Let's not go into moralizing into that. Practically, it is impossible for us all to have these cars and to commute by cars.
Yes.
Take Hyderabad city. The arterial roads and main roads, we only have a length of about 900 kilometers in the greater Hyderabad city, the whole of Hyderabad, with a population of now probably about a crore and 10 lakhs, a crore and 5 lakhs, about 105 lakhs or 10 million plus. But the vehicle population is 81 lakhs. And it's growing by 2,000 per day. And in the past 5 years alone, or 6, 7 years alone, since 2019, since the onset of COVID, let's say, if that is a starting point, the number grew by almost 40% in just 7 years. Every day 2 lakhs means we're adding another 7, 8 lakhs. That means 10% you're adding every year. It simply is not possible. Because there is no way 9,000 vehicles, whether it's scooters, two-wheelers, or cars, or jeeps, or whatever, can be accommodated in 1 kilometer stretch of a road. It's practically impossible. So it's not that we are preventing somebody from availing a comfortable transport system. If everybody uses only private transport, there's no transport at all. There's no mobility at all. We'll be paralyzed. So we have no choice but to build a quality public transport system and encourage people to use that as much as possible.
So, couple of points to that. I want to talk about behavioral changes, right? You said we have to nudge people to use public transport. In societies like India, we reward aspiration as well, right? Do you think it's possible actually to push people? Is behavioral change possible in a society like India?
The wealthiest people in India, people who think that they belong to a certain class of people, when they go to London, when they go to Tokyo, when they go to Paris or New York, what do? They use public transport systems. In the UK, cabinet ministers used to travel by public transport. After the Northern Ireland terrorist problem, that practice came down. If you remember a film on Churchill, that seminal speech of his, blood, toil, sweat and tears, when he mobilized the British public to fight Nazism, he was actually going by British tube, the underground rail network, and where he met some of those passengers. Of course, they all recognized him. He was a titanic figure. And then it was their prompting that made him resolve that he would never surrender. So prime ministers were traveling by metro. Europe, many countries, they go by bicycle or public transport system. In the United States, even Supreme Court judges travel by public transport system in Washington, D.C. So good quality public transport, comfort, and dignity for the person who travels, they're all compatible. It's the bad quality transport without adequate networking and linkages that will make it difficult for you to embrace public transport system. Yes, there may be a few people who will insist on private transport even after quality public transport is available. Let them pay for the use of the road, for congesting the road, for occupying the road, and they're wealthy enough, they can afford to pay happily. That's not a problem. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. The first duty is, have we done our duty as the state? Creating the minimum infrastructure required to make traffic move. Take Hyderabad again. The city dwellers, on an average, this 1 crore 10 lakh people, or 11 million people, they lose about 123 hours a year during working times because of traffic congestion. Now, 123 hours is equal to about 15 working days, 15 to 20 working days, out of, let's say, 250 or so working days in a year.
Yes.
Now, that's a lot. We're losing up to 5% of the city's GSDP. Something like 5 to 6 billion US dollars, that means about 50,000, 60,000 crore rupees, is lost only because of traffic congestion in Hyderabad city alone. So it's not only a matter of comfort and convenience, it's a matter of economic growth. And of course, it's a matter of saving lives. Every day, hundreds of people are dying or getting seriously injured in Hyderabad city alone in traffic, by bad management of traffic. This certainly is not on. Civilization means we must protect our people, we must make our life comfortable, we must allow the economy to move smoothly, and that means transportation and mobility are critical.
So, the stats that you just mentioned, the economic loss, hours lost, vehicular density in Hyderabad, right? The state also must have these statistics, right? And now you just mentioned that there is a state role in providing good quality public transport. Why does the Indian state, and I will extrapolate this question out of Hyderabad as well, why do Indian states think that flyover is the only solution? I'm not saying it is a bad idea, but why do they think it is the only idea?
No, you see, it's tempting always to think that if only I build a flyover, because remember, take Hyderabad city again. In my living memory, we used to cross that Begumpet railway line with a level crossing. Now there's a comfortable flyover. So when we had very primitive infrastructure, you could not even cross a railway line without a flyover. Flyover was an aspirational thing and a necessary thing. Now all over the country, even rural areas, we are saying that there must never be a level crossing, right? So it is that kind of an imagination that we have. Because the first improvement of infrastructure at a time when the automobile density was extremely low, even 40 years ago when I came to Hyderabad first, about 37 years ago, hardly very few vehicles were there. If you take 60, 70 years ago, Abbots was more or less the center of the city at the time, you saw maybe one or two automobiles. So in that backdrop, simply removing the hurdles, obstacles seem to be the obvious solution.
Correct.
While that is necessary, I'm not opposed to that. Obviously, you can't have level crossings in Hyderabad city, whatever be the mode of transport. That simply is not an answer as the density of vehicles grows. And it's not that every city is in the same way. In general, you're right. We have a VIP culture where a high court judge, a senior official, a politician is treated as a VIP. Sometimes they demand the treatment and they scattering dust, their cars with the pilot vehicles, they move with preferential mobility. All our vehicles are stopped in the hot sun or pouring rain or whatever. In that culture, the decision makers often do not feel the pain of the ordinary passengers. There is a disconnect between the need and the power, the stake and the voice in general. That's one of the reasons why VIP culture is so prominent in India. Somebody said very eloquently that the richer classes of Indians are trying to secede from the rest of India, create your own islands of excellence or oases, gated communities or something else, thinking that you would escape the travails of ordinary Indians. Now, I'm not going into a moral judgment of that. It simply is not practical. Because no matter where you live, even if you are a prime minister or a former prime minister, you will not be completely insulated from the vagaries of traffic or sewerage or water supply or stormwater drainage. Now, this office where we are now chatting is about 100 meters from the chief minister's residential office, camp office as we call it. There is a drinking water crisis here. Now, allegedly, this locality is a VIP locality, within 100 meters of chief minister's thing, etc. Now, that did not insulate you from the problems of simple water shortage. Forget the big things. The most important necessity of life after air is water. Then comes food.
Yes.
Now, if water is scarce here, and if the road in front of the chief minister's camp office floods the moment there is a 5-minute rainfall, VIP culture will not save you. We are all in it together. And that awareness is not adequate in our country. But nevertheless, not all cities are the same. I think many people will be surprised to know that Delhi and Mumbai, much richer cities, much bigger cities than, let's say, Hyderabad, Bengaluru, or Chennai, they have fewer automobiles on the road per unit population. Per 100 population, there are fewer automobiles, fewer cars, and fewer two-wheelers, etc., private vehicles on the roads in those cities compared to, let's say, Hyderabad, Bengaluru, or Chennai. So even within the country, there are some cities which are ahead. They plan, the citizens cooperated, they reaping the benefits of that. For instance, you take bus transport. In Hyderabad, typically, I think nowadays with all the free transport available to women, etc., as a political promise, about 24, 25 lakh people travel a day. Earlier it used to be about 16 lakhs or so per day. Now, in Bengaluru, it's better. Bengaluru has 24 to 25 lakh people, but I think it has 40, 45 lakh people a day. If you take Mumbai, it is even better, about 80 lakhs per day. Mumbai suburban rail system, equivalent of MMTS in Hyderabad, there's a rail system in Mumbai, that carries again about 1 crore people every day. Enormous public transport, a very efficient public transport system, of course very congested. They're now trying to improve by better infrastructure, metro lines and so on and so forth. Similarly, Delhi has built a first-rate metro system, the best in the country so far, and a lot of public transport systems. So even in India, forget the rest of the world, other cities are showing us the way. And we have to move forward in that direction.
So, on that front, you mentioned Delhi has a fantastic metro, right? Bombay has a fantastic bus network. Hyderabad seemingly lacks both. And then you have the highest vehicular density or vehicle per 100 population as well, right? I'll take one by one. Metro right now in Hyderabad, average occupancy is 40% on an average, and a 3-coach metro, which is not even sufficient. Almost all metros in Delhi are 8 coaches metros. It is a capital intensive project, and they're going on about building another line, which is, again, if there is a demand for it, go ahead, build it. But there seems to be a much more cheaper option in buses. Why do you think the state is not able to see that?
We have become addicted as a country to high cost projects. It's actually addiction, like drugs and alcohol. When two options are available, an efficient, relatively low cost and modest cost option, but a very high cost, glitzy 5-star option, increasingly bureaucracies seem to prefer the high cost options. There was a time not too long ago, 30, 40 years ago, when Indian governance system was basically thrifty. Because the Gandhian ethos, freedom struggle, the legacy of freedom struggle, whatever the reason, there was thrift and conservation of resources that was the norm in government. Today, profligacy, wasteful use of resources, going for the most expensive thing without any enhanced productivity has become increasingly the norm. It's not only in transport systems, in almost all the public projects. Take a project called Kaleshwaram in Telangana. Now, Kaleshwaram, if you cost it fully at current prices, and if the project is indeed completed, it would probably be costing about $15-20 billion, about $20 billion. I'm talking about in actual exchange terms. If it's purchasing power terms, you make it about 3.5-4 times, about $60-70 billion. Kaleshwaram guzzles 7,700 megawatts of power. It does not generate, it consumes. And because there is a significant lift of hundreds of meters from Godavari up to Hyderabad city, it requires multiple stages of lifting and what we call pressure mains, the pipelines. Unless the valves are there at each stage, the pipelines will burst with the pressure. Because of all this, the cost of electricity, interest on the debt, and maintenance of these pipes, all these things together will account for about 50,000 rupees per acre per year. The incremental benefit on account of Kaleshwaram for irrigation would be probably 15,000 or 20,000 max per acre if you are generous. Let alone the capital cost, you are spending 50,000 rupees per year per acre. It doesn't make any sense, and yet it's very popular with the politicians for a variety of reasons. The glitzy, the big, like the road, the bridge to nowhere kind of thing, that's become endemic. There's also a perverse incentive of, unfortunately, the commissions and kickbacks in a kleptocratic governance system in the country. Take China's Three Gorges Dam, probably the world's largest irrigation system ever. It cost about $30 billion, about $25 to $30 billion. It generates 22,000 megawatts of hydropower. Generates. It saves vast portions of fertile China from flooding. It provides massive irrigation by gravity without having to pump again. And it acts as a tremendous lifeline in transportation and shipping from inland China up to Shanghai port, from where they export to all over the world. The cost benefit ratio is remarkable. It's very beneficial in China. And China is next only to United States in size of the economy. If you actually take at purchasing power parity, China is bigger than the United States. China is 4 times India's economy today. One tiny state of India, Telangana, spent money roughly on par with China's Three Gorges Dam with very little benefit. So this has become endemic in the country. I think I'm not opposed to metros where they're judiciously chosen. The density is good. The ribbon kind of traffic is there. If it's properly integrated with other systems, it's perfectly all right. But metro as the first option is not a very wise idea. There's an outer ring road built in Hyderabad city at a cost of 6,600 crores. A very good road. It's so good that very often people die because they overspeed. They go at 160 kilometers or whatever. But very good 8-lane road. There is a crazy idea to build a metro parallel to outer ring road. You have one of the world-class roads, have first-rate bus system.
Yes.
So we're not looking at what is optimal. Even rich countries, if they're not frugal, if they're not careful about asset utilization, they become poor. Being a poor country, we become somewhat reckless of utilization of resources in the public systems. I think that must give way. We must look at cost-benefit analysis in every single public expenditure item, every project.
So, we've batted for public transport in the last 20 minutes of this conversation. One of the biggest criticisms of public transport that comes, especially in countries like India, is it's the loss-generating avenue for the government. Do you think government should then engage in it? Do you think it's worthwhile?
See, you must look at the benefit to economy. If you're losing $5.5 billion in a year in Hyderabad city alone, then somebody must pay in order to minimize those losses. Now, you can certainly make the taxpayer pay. Ideally, if all else is equal, it's always better that the user pays the cost of service. But supposing by asking them to pay the actual cost of service, you're deterring them from using it. And therefore, the very purpose is defeated. The congestion continues, inconvenience continues, accidents continue, the economic loss continues.
Yes.
Then you have defeated the objective. That's a classic area where the government should step in with the taxpayers' money. Therefore, almost every major city, they're more than happy to cover the losses in operations of urban transport systems. London City, there's a single London City authority for the traffic management under the mayor's control. The London Tube, then London Rail, and then the bus system. They all work as an integrated whole with a single ticket, single authority, and totally integrated. And every year, to a tune of about a couple of billion pounds or more, the subsidies are given to the transport system. So if it's necessary, so be it. But it's possible to actually manage the operations reasonably well so that operation subsidy is minimal, but capital cost must be probably subsidized. So, but otherwise, the price you pay as a society is far greater. That's exactly when the society must take over. I'm normally a great fan of private sector and cost recovery.
Yes.
There are some areas where the government must step in through taxpayers' money so that the economic efficiencies are actually realized.
Yes.
Public transport certainly is one such area.
Yes, sir. So, another thing that's common in these countries outside India, cities outside India, sir, is as a deterrent, apart from a strict parking policy, they also have something called congestion pricing. My question to you is the Indian state ready for something like congestion pricing? Should we go for it?
No, because there is enormous hatred of the state in India. We intensely dislike government because the government is seen as kleptocratic.
Yes.
Kleptocratic is nothing but stealing from us.
Yes.
Plutocratic, it is the rule of the super rich people.
Yes.
Kakistocratic, rule of the inefficient and the incompetent. And I think all three in large measure are true in Indian governance. Therefore, there's a lot of anger, particularly in the middle classes. So if you start with government regulating, government imposing a penalty, it should be impossible politically to sustain that, because why should we accept it? If you penalize me without any commensurate benefit, if I don't trust you, then the authority will not be acceptable. So the first point of departure is not how to regulate private traffic or how to discourage private traffic or how to penalize them, but how to improve the public transport systems to make it actually efficient and sensible so that people move towards naturally. Once that option is available, slowly you make it harder in terms of traffic management, in terms of parking fees, and then in terms of congestion fee during peak hours. And people will understand. And it's also not quixotically, not casually, but make them understand this is the reason. And if this doesn't happen, this is the price we're going to pay together. But there is an option available. For instance, even in the United States, right now, toll roads are very unpopular. Very rarely do you have toll roads. It's a big political issue in the world's most capitalist economy. In India, 40, 50 years ago, toll roads, there were one or two, but it was such an unusual thing. It was politically suicidal. Today, look at our national highways. Is anybody batting an eyelid? Once the quality and convenience are there, I don't care. Nobody cares. So that is the order. First, create a first-class facility that enhances your convenience, speed, comfort, safety, and economic utility. Then let there be some cost imposed for not availing that. That is a right approach.
So this will be my last question for this. Public transport in India is not looked as a very fancy option, right? I am bringing the class debate into this conversation right now, right? If you use public transport, you don't have money, you're not rich. There is a perception built around public transport like that. Even within public transport, metros are slightly better off, buses are slightly bad, and all of those things. Do you think the Indian state, as I'm asking as the state, can the state drive this change that public transport is all? If the public transport is good, you can also use public transport. Is it possible for the state to do it?
It requires certain preconditions.
Okay.
One, you must do your job thoroughly, not bits and pieces. For instance, take Hyderabad city. You have a metro system, as I said, about 67 kilometers or so, 22,000 crores they spent. Do you know that after spending 22,000 crores, paying annually probably about 1,500 crores or 2,000 crores by way of interest, the government is not able to mobilize 300 crore rupees to increase the number of coaches. If 30 more coaches are added, the frequency can be substantially increased. Once you have a good quality metro system available, the number of coaches and the frequency of their transportation is all that is the barrier. And if you don't have coaches for 300 crores after spending 22,000 crores, it's very foolish utilization. Now, the moment there is something that discourages me, like for instance, no, the frequency is not good enough, it's congested, there's standing room only, it's inconvenient, then I'm tempted to avail something else. So, improve the quality by way of improving the frequency, integrating multimodal transport systems. In Hyderabad city, for instance, you have the metro, you have the city buses, you have the MMTS, the suburban rail system, so to speak. MMTS, despite enormous efforts, attracts ridiculously small number of passengers, 40,000. Ridiculous. The government recently has taken a wise decision. They said, we'll make it free. I think it's absolutely worthwhile. Whether it's railway spending the money or the state government is spending the money, it is the public money. And if that's not benefiting in terms of the quality of traffic here and convenience to the people, it's an absurd waste of taxpayers' money. So it's better to allow free transportation, at least up to a certain stage, rather than waiting for some money to come, etc. So first, integrate them.
Okay.
Second, to that extent possible, make it more comfortable and a little classy. That's the reason why metro, up to a point, is reasonable in big cities. At least that will make it attractive, comfortable, and so on, predictable, and so on and so forth. Buses, you don't have to be ramshackle buses, which are shaky and dusty and polluted and noisy. You can have nice air-conditioned buses today, in today's world. It's not an impossible dream in the public transport system. Ensure effective integration of all these. Once you do that, the sheer convenience and comfort definitely overtake the prestige quotient. Thorstein Veblen, the famous economist, a Nobel laureate, he came out with this notion of the theory of the leisure class. In fact, his Nobel was on the leisure class. He was the man who coined expressions like conspicuous consumption and many things. So many of these class notions that I should not be doing what Am Janta do is borne out by that all over the world. In India too, because we are a hierarchical society, probably there's a bit more of that. But ultimately, convenience and comfort will certainly trump everything else. So first create that convenience and comfort and make it a better class. No, I remember as a district magistrate traveling by an ambassador car on the dusty roads without air conditioning every single day. I have a respiratory, upper respiratory allergy, dust allergy, and all that. So every day it was hellish. I was traveling every day. But if an option is available, I would be happy to go in air conditioning thing. Lee Kuan Yew said the greatest invention that affected lives in 20th century was air conditioning. It enhanced productivity. So there's nothing wrong in having comfortable travel. You can make it comfortable, moderate cost, but public transport system which is efficient. Once you do that, only a few not particularly wise people will opt for anything but that kind of a system.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.